yeah, so basically in a lot of my healing sessions, people are coming and asking if I can look what their life purpose is. Yeah, so I thought it's actually a very interesting topic to talk about. What is a life purpose? What does it mean from a normal human perspective? Let's say it like that. And also, what does it mean if you're on the path of spiritual awakening? And yeah, this is actually how I found the path of awakening or the path of meditation, or started to meditate. I did some online programs around basically finding life purpose. So having a better life experience was also always a big part of that, was finding life purpose. And there were, for example, questions. So like, okay, there were different ways of how to find out what the life purpose is, right? But if you're in a position where you don't really know what to do, you don't really have any perspectives, you don't really have clarity in your system, so there's just a lot of information there, but nothing really resonates. Like, how can you find like that life purpose? And what did I think what a life purpose is? So life purpose, or how it was promoted from that podcast a bit later on, or from that podcast where I got this this online program from. And I guess she was living her life purpose, and from this perspective, I'm seeing it. But from when I started this course, life purpose is basically when you find something that you really enjoy doing. So for me, it was always around work, and like having this work integrated in your everyday life experience, so that it's also part of your everyday life. So not just, a job where you go in the morning and then you leave in the evening and you do something else. For me, life purpose was always a combination between having a job and living that all the time, what your purpose is. But I was like very, very far away, from that back then when I did this online course. And it felt very frustrating because, okay, what do I prefer? For example, I used to prefer going for runs. I used to like going for hikes. Job-wise, I just didn't really know what I liked. I tried a few things before, but it wasn't really anything that I could particularly say I want to continue doing that. So I kind of knew, okay, what I like to do in my free time, and that I like to hang out with friends. Did I see talents or anything really? Because I feel like this was a question as well, like, what are your talents? Didn't really see any talents or anything. So yeah, I just remember filling out this form and feeling very frustrated, like, because I felt like I couldn't tune into the question, and then I didn't get an answer. So because there was just too much going on, there was, of course, I didn't do any healing work back then, or not really. I didn't meditate. It was just, yeah, just to kind of give an example where I was. And I felt like from that point of view, it was very hard to find like my life purpose. And also what I thought is, okay, if then I fill out the form, for example, and I know what my life purpose is, then it needs to be here. It needs to be there in 2 or 3 weeks, because then I want to live it right away, right? So that was kind of the big error, because it's, yeah, from today's perspective, I see it very different. Yeah, anyways, so I didn't find my life purpose back then in the time of 2 weeks, which I thought I would, or at least in a very short time. Yeah, just this frustration was there. And that's when I started to realize, okay, I probably need to change something first before I can find this purpose. And I was always very driven towards work. So my purpose has to do with work. So for some people, maybe it's something different. For me, this was the drive. And yeah, and then I found meditation, and then kind of this need for having a life purpose stepped in the background, or this understanding what it is. So again, I thought when I have found my life purpose, I will have the perfect job with a good income, with that I feel fulfilled, I feel joyful. Everything I do is just gonna be easy and will unfold in a very positive and nice way. And I will have nice people around me, and just, I guess, how we would see having just a very successful life. Yeah, I guess. I mean, from my point of view, I guess everybody's definition of a successful life is different. Yeah, but then going on to the spiritual path or starting meditation and learning about all of this, the idea of that I want to have a life purpose or whatever it's supposed to be kind of stepped in the background. Yeah, because it was more important to meditate, to learn about consciousness, and all around that, and have a, yeah, opening the system and stuff like that, towards energy. So it totally changed. The focus, like to have this purpose. But really, it was kind of still always there a little bit, right? Because it stepped more in the background, but it was still always there. And yeah, while doing meditations and sessions and all of that, and then climbing up the ladder of the level of consciousness, kind of this pull from the side, oh, I need to do something with purpose. So then it kind of changed. So the purpose before was more around, I want to have a successful life experience and I want to live a successful life. And then it kind of changed while being on the path of spiritual awakening. Or my purpose, I want to have my purpose around helping people. So this energy was still there, but it kind of changed its form, which is very normal for a lot of people on the path, right? They just want to have to help other people. They want to make the world a better place and all of that. So this happens to many people, and that's perfect. Yeah, and then I decided to start doing guided meditations on Zoom. So I just did that once, or yeah, for a while I did it every day. It was around the time of COVID, and so people just could join and do these meditations. And then later on, I did like a little course where in-person courses where people could come, and I did like did meditations and a little bit of a teaching and stuff like that. So yeah, I was kind of tuning into this, but it didn't really feel right at that time. I mean, I was also like, meditating every day, focusing on my path, focusing on my growth. So this was kind of something, it was actually coming from the ego, right? So it didn't really, I mean, people enjoyed the online meditations, the Zoom meditations, but it didn't really pick up or take me anywhere. So I just decided to drop it, because I learned surrender. So surrendering to just what life is giving you, right? Yeah, and I just then decided, okay, I want to awaken, and everything else can step in the background, and whatever is going to happen in my life will happen. It's going to be perfect anyways. And yeah, and basically, I mean, this took a few years, it took really a few years to fully drop that, because my focus was always to find fulfillment in a job. So I kind of was still looking in that area in different ways. But then this is the understanding, and this is what I'm also sharing these days with people, that you actually can find your life purpose. So first of all, life purpose itself is life experience. So having the experience of life every day, that's actually the fundamental purpose of our existence, of everybody's existence. The soul incarnates, wants to have certain experiences, wants to learn certain things, wants to gain certain understandings, and just the whole path of life is life purpose. So the understanding of I find then this specific thing, and this is what is then my life purpose, is more understanding of, I guess, our Western world and the ego. But in the end, it's really about living life. exploring life, and yeah, just being here, being on Earth. So this is actually already life purpose. But if we still come from our understanding from the Western world, what life purpose is, I knew I had to just drop everything. So I had to drop, to move forward on the spiritual path and actually go into higher levels. So unity was quite okay. There was help from Garrett, right? But then in the refinement phase of the unity consciousness, just everything needs to be dropped. So that's basically just what I learned, what I experienced, and what I intuitively got as well. And then eventually also, I totally dropped. Oh, maybe I mentioned before, I was a bit drawn to do healing work before. So I had an initiation into Reiki healing, and 2 different Reiki healings. And I thought, helping people, I could do it through healing, because I've been told before from healers I went to, also like tarot card readers, I'm going to do healing work one day. So I kind of like the direction was shown, but I had no idea how it manifested. But with the Reiki, it didn't really feel right. So I just decided, okay, because being on the path anyways, and it's all about dropping everything, I also dropped this, which was a very, very big one for me, because it was so present in my life experience. So this was like the most important thing for me, was finding my life purpose through a job. It's always the job, which wouldn't be the job anymore then, because then it's my life purpose. And then of course, it's just integrated in the whole life experience. Anyways, and then I just dropped it. And it felt very freeing. It actually felt very freeing to know, okay, I don't need to look for a life purpose or anything. I don't need to do anything. I just need to surrender. And like if you're possible to surrender things that you really want or that important to you, it's so freeing. It's extremely freeing. It's actually incredible. It's very beautiful. Then there is a lot more space for new things to come in, for just having more silence in your system, having more clarity, having more peace, because the energies behind wanting to find a life purpose, at least for me, were very strong. It was like I was very driven. So it consumed quite a bit of my life experience and my thoughts and where I was looking into, like reading books and all of that. And dropping it was very, very freeing. And actually, it happened on one of Garrett's retreats. So I came out of that retreat, and after that I felt like, okay, I'm tired of looking for this purpose thing. I just want to drop everything. And then I dropped it, and it was very freeing. And I also felt like it helped me tremendously on the path of awakening. So moving forward, having more refinement of your unity. So it was just a big block of junk, stuck energies could leave. It was very freeing. And and then let me think. How long did it take that the healing work started to come in? I guess about one bit more than over a year. And I'm seeing now, yes, this work I'm doing now, the healing work, because that's what people are aiming to, right? When they come to me and say, I want to find my life purpose, I want to do something like you're doing, or Garrett is doing, or some of our other guests are doing, right? Who are like working in this field. It took like 1.5 years, until I fully started working in that field. But now the point of view is very different. So it's like, I see it now as just unfolding of what I said before. Life purpose is actually living life, experiencing life. So it's just part of experiencing life. So there is nothing in my system anymore that is looking for a purpose, or that wants a purpose, or sees that kind of work as life purpose, right? It's just the unfolding of every day, of impulses, what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to do it, what decisions I should make, and stuff like that. So it's really just the unfolding. But like from this perspective where I was a few years ago, this would be exactly the life purpose I was looking for. But the interesting part is, first of all, the ego has to step out of the way. And these energies that are behind there to wanting to find a life purpose need to be dropped. So that's what you are supposed to do, or maybe it's healing work, maybe it's some sort of spiritual work, maybe it's something totally different, but it doesn't really matter then, because if you drop all of that, you just go with the flow. And that's the nicest life experience, just going with the flow. It's so effortless. And I remember this lady from the podcast where I got this online program from saying, yeah, and things are unfolding and it's effortless and it's joyful and all of that. And I was like, from that perspective where I was, it seemed to be something so far away, because my life experience was so different. And now I totally see what she's talking about, because it's happening. But yeah, so that's the big difference, of allowing life to unfold in the best way possible. So always for your highest good. That means you need to drop everything that's in the way. So it's not so much that from a normal Western perspective or human ego perspective, you are in charge, like the ego is in charge. It knows what it wants, and then it works for that, right? So, and you have accomplished something. But from that perspective, from the awakening point of view, we basically expand our consciousness. We know more than who we are. We get to know more about our true nature. This can manifest in our everyday life experience. So we start to embody the higher levels of consciousness. And through that also, because, if people do healing work or stuff falls away by themselves anyways, because they discover limiting beliefs, limiting habits and stuff like that, so they can drop it themselves anyways. So all these limitations, they start falling away, and then there is suddenly more space. There's more space, more clarity, more openness. You have more access to your intuition. And then through the surrender, so surrender is, there's this small line between, I allow everything that's happening, everything that life brings towards me is for my highest good, and it's a reflection of my own consciousness. Everything I experience is only a reflection of my own consciousness. There is nothing else. So it's always how it's supposed to be. So there are no mistakes there. So there is nothing in your life experience that's random, or that's not supposed to be there, because it's always a reflection of your own consciousness. And and when the clarity is there and the openness, then you can see the possibilities and opportunities, and then you just take them. And if the system is clear enough to see it, and you're not driven by any strong energies that are in your system still, like for me was that defining the life purpose, or the purpose in a work, because it basically, so it's not really that it blindfolds you or it veils you. I guess this is the best way to describe it. It just starts, it veils you so that you don't really see what's actually there, because this energy just takes you. So no, maybe a better way to describe it, how I always describe it, is like when these energies are there in your system, they're like a train track. So you hop on a train. When this energy comes up, it's like a train. You hop on the train and you can only go where the train goes. Always goes into the same direction with the same energies, and you don't have a choice. But when these energies are cleared, so the energy behind the life purpose was fully cleared, or dropped, then you have a car and you have roads and you drive just wherever you want. So that's the freedom of you get in your life experience when energies are getting cleared that are basically overtaking you. So the free will is kind of, let's say, very limited in that in that range when still a lot of energies are influencing you, right? Yeah, and when there are less energies influencing you, there is just more space for more clarity, more space for decisions, more openness, and yeah, the possibilities are just seen and the opportunities are just seen because they are not seen before. It's just too much going on. So everything is there already. And this is the next thing I didn't understand. I was like, what? What are they talking about? Everything is there already. I don't see anything. Oh my God, this drove me nuts. Because you're looking, where are opportunities? So I felt bored. I was at home, felt bored, and I was like, what can I do? What can I do to move forward, to have a better life experience and all of that? And I was looking and I couldn't see anything. Yeah, because these energies were just coming up, and basically when they are there, so in that case, it was, I don't know what kind of energy it was, but it was just an energy there that was the energy of boredness, or I don't know, what's the word in English? I guess the energy of not the disorientation, so not knowing what to do. I guess there's probably a better English word, but sometimes I have a lack of these words. And yeah, so I had this a lot as well. So this not knowing what to do, and it's also just an energy coming up, and then your life experience is happening through that energy, and then this is what reflects back from consciousness. So of course you don't know what you can do because that's what's reflecting back. Yeah, so it's actually very fascinating how this works, but it's in the end it's all very simple. And for me back then it felt so complicated and it felt so far away to reach my life purpose or to reach any kind of life experience that I prefer. Not that I had a bad, that my how life unfolded was good. It was always good. Just my experience of it wasn't good because of all these energies in the system. They just bring you suffering. So it's basically just suffering all the time. Limitations, the human limitations are they just bring a lot of sufferings. These energies that are driving you, they can bring a lot of suffering. Yeah. Anyways, so what I can share with people who are on the spiritual path is really try to surrender whatever it is. So maybe in your experience is different. So it's not about finding like the purpose in doing spiritual work, although most people who come to me are actually, this is actually what they're talking about. So I have to say, maybe it will resonate with many of you, that, yeah, wanting to find the purpose in helping and in doing some sort of healing work or helping people on expanding their consciousness or something like that. This is probably there, and this is what you mean by purpose. And I would just recommend, if you are on the path of awakening, drop that for now. It will come back later. It will come back later, but in a pure form and in the form how it's supposed to be. Because, okay, for example, if you, let's say you are approaching unity, let's just give an example, because that's where I was when I started doing my, these guided meditations and these little in-person groups. There was still so much going on in my system. There was still so many limitations, like so many limitations. It's incredible. So what kind of limitations were there? Limiting beliefs, concepts, what I learned, what's right and wrong, how things need to be done and all of that. Then of course, all these stored energies in the system from my life experience. than the past life influences. So there was just still so much going on. And looking back, it just was so important to work on that first, because with all these limitations, how I'm supposed to, first of all, how is that what I'm supposed to do be able to come in, because there is not really much space, there is not really much openness, so the system is like very tight, there's not much happening. So this is not really this wouldn't have been really able to come in what I do now, like not at all, it wouldn't have been possible. So I would just suggest be patient, and put this aside for now. Live through your life experience. You are given exactly what you need to live through. If you feel like there is something you need to change at the moment, for example, job, because it just doesn't resonate at all and all of that, I guess do that. But like just knowing, okay, I just really drop the purpose thing, or I drop that I want to want to work in the field of spirituality. I just have to differentiate here on one thing, because if you feel like this is just the area where you want to work to and you don't want to move any further on the spiritual path, totally fine, totally fine. I'm just talking basically, or the recommendation is for people who want to move forward, who want to experience higher levels, want to clear their system fully. So this is basically just a recommendation. And yeah, and this also something I read in a book, and this kind of really stuck with me. So basically, the I don't know who it wrote, but the person said, if you are still on your journey of awakening, and if you still need to do some work yourself, and you start teaching from there, so this was about spiritual teachers, then you will get stuck there, because you get stuck if the clarity and the openness is not there yet, you will get stuck where you're teaching from, which is, it's also possible, right? It's also possible. It's also okay. For some people, it's their path. It's totally fine. I can just share from my experience and from my understanding. If you want to reach higher levels, it's better to wait with that. And it's better to let it then unfold in the way how it's supposed to unfold. And then it will probably come in very different than you thought, like for me. And it's a lot, like it just happened. It just came in. I guess overnight would be a bit too dramatic to say that. But it came in within a few months, right? And it just was there, and it just happened. So it was effortless. So there was nothing I had to, it just unfolded. And this is what I always wanted, right? I wanted to be life, to be just effortless and joyful. Of course, there are, challenges every now and then, and everything you start new, there you need to learn new things, you need to learn working with people, all of these things. So there is a lot of learning involved, but the learning is also not like painful. Before, learning for me was often very painful, and I had resistance to learning, and now it's just part of it, and it's easier. It's just, yeah, there's just nothing in the way that doesn't want to learn. So that's the thing. Just dropping. I have to think now. I was going to make a point. Where is it now? There's so much other stuff coming in. So it's like, I'm just gonna tune in for a second. Maybe it comes back. Oh yeah. So just the recommendation, if you are on the spiritual path, and if you feel like that you have this aspiration, okay, I want to move forward, I want to move into higher levels, I want to have these higher refinement states, and then I would just recommend, I mean, if you do a little bit of healing work and stuff like that, totally fine, but like don't bring it in as your life purpose by yourself, because then again it would be that energy from the background, and it would be ego driven. And this is just, It's also possible, of course, but it will hinder you. It will kind of stop you really moving forward, how you're supposed to move forward, or how it's for your highest good, or better to say, you kind of blocking your own possibilities on moving forward on the spiritual path. So if you just do it aside and all of that, it's not going to hinder it. But like really, okay, I start this business. This is my life purpose. This is what I want to do. I want to help. I want to do this and that. Yeah, just from my experience, it would have been a big mistake, because I know I would have put all my energy in there, and wouldn't really have worked more to move forward on the path, and also this, what is actually there for me to do, wouldn't have unfolded. So there wouldn't have been the possibility, let's say it like that. So just to share a little bit of the fine differences here. And I would really ask you to, if things are resonating with you, what I say, perfect, take whatever you need to take. If things are not resonating with you, then, it's just I can share from my experience, from my understanding. Yeah. So take from this podcast or from this solo episode whatever you feel like you need, and that's perfect. Yeah. And in general, what I can share about, yeah, but okay, then the question comes up, how can I then still live? Okay, life purpose is just living life, right? But from what point of view? Because if you feel miserable, and if you feel limited, and if you feel not so great, you still want to have a good life experience, right? And this is actually where I got a lot of help, and I mentioned him before, Bashar. And I was just staying with a friend in Ireland because I did a retreat there with Garrett on the weekend. And I introduced her, or actually it was funny. She had a screenshot on her phone of the guy who channels Bashar. So Daryl Anker is an American, and he channels ET, and his name is Bashar. And Bashar, yeah, and she just had his photo, and I was like, why do you have this photo? And then she was like, yeah, because she heard something, I forgot, on YouTube or something, and it really resonated with her, and she wanted to look into him. And then I was like, oh, I have like a lot of material around him because I used to listen to him. And the good thing is, so he basically, he talks a lot how this reality works. And we have a kind of a, how we grow up, or how I grew up, but I guess we in the West kind of have a different understanding of what he's teaching. And he really teaches, from my point of view, it totally resonates with my work and my understanding of things. And he talks a lot about how this reality, how we can master this reality so that we have basically a good and fulfilling life experience, right? And he also talks a little bit about ET stuff. So that wasn't so much my interest. Also, I mean, it's also fascinating, right? But I was just, the focus was on, I wanted to have a nicer life experience. And he basically talks about following your highest excitement. And it's a bit strong to call it like highest excitement, because highest excitement is always like, oh, I need to feel really happy if I do these things, or the things I'm doing really need to fulfillment, all of that. So I can share from my understanding. So the highest excitement is basically you wake up every morning and you do everything that you resonate with more over something that doesn't so much. And this basically, if you are able to do that, and this takes practice and probably months of practice to be actually able to do that, because just a simple example, you have the choice between tea or coffee, and you have learned that, let's just say, coffee is not so healthy, whatever, it's just an example, and tea is healthier. Let's take chamomile tea. It's not like the best tea in the world. I always only drank it when I had a stomach ache. So you have these two options, and then you're like, okay, I would really feel like a coffee because I'm so tired and it would help me to elevate a little bit. But then oh yeah, read yesterday or learned that the chamomile tea in the morning would be just the better option. It's more healthy and all of that. And then you choose the chamomile tea. It's just a very small, tiny example. But this is like, you didn't choose what you prefer. And of course, choosing things within your highest good as a human with having a body. So, if you wake up in the morning and there is the choice between, I don't know, something very unhealthy and something healthier, like within, so the choices are within your highest good and having a healthy human fulfilled experience. So I guess this is like the framework. And so it's really about choosing whatever you prefer and whatever resonates with you, and doing this on a daily basis and not caring about the outcome. So this is the second part of the teaching. So you do it for the best ability you have, but you don't care about the outcome. So because then you can really live in the moment. Because if you do something, so for example, this friend shared that her highest excitement would be to have a retreat center. And that's a very amazing highest excitement. But the thing is, how can I have a retreat center today if there is like, I don't have a property, I don't have people who help me working there, I don't have any money, I don't have anything, right? So then basically, yes, this would be the highest excitement. And you just follow steps every day to get there. Or another friend, he wants to, he's very good at certain doing helping people on how do I say it? On understanding how their mind works and how their mind is influencing them. And he wants to help people doing that. And this would be his highest excitement. But to get there, you kind of need to make choices every day, right? So you need to build a website, you need to, I don't know, find a way to how you find people, stuff like that. It's just steps you need to do on the way. And if you, this would be the highest excitement, but you still do the steps on an everyday basis so that the choices are not made on, oh, in 2 years' time, I have a retreat center and that's why I choose something today in that kind of way. The choice would be, okay, I want to have a retreat center in 2 years. That's the aim, but I choose what's of my highest excitement today. So not putting yourself already in the position of in 2 years and making the decisions from there, but like you are here today and you make your decisions today. So it's always only about that. That's very important. And yeah, and then just let life unfold. And by doing that, you can you will discover so many limitations because you often choose something because you learned it's a better choice, because society says it's the better choice, because I don't know, it's just like we go into a store. I used to go into a store and choosing something I buy on the price and not on what I would think is healthier or what I would have preferred in that moment, right? It's just also a limitation. It's just something I learned saving money from my family, right? So it doesn't really matter what it is. It helps to discover these limiting beliefs and these limitations in the system. And if you practice this for a while, because it takes some practice, because it's you basically in a new habit gets formed. So before, the habit was believing your limiting beliefs and acting on them. And then your habit gets, I follow my highest excitement. And if I feel like going for a walk, I go for a walk. And if I feel like go, because people, for example, ask me after the meditations, what should I do? How should I integrate the energy? It's so different for everybody. Some people, they like to go for sleep. Some people like to go for a walk. Some people like to go for a run. Some people like to eat. It doesn't really matter. It's really, okay, what comes up for me in the moment, because it's my highest truth. And this is also where my work comes in, because I'm helping people to find their own personal highest truth. So it all aims to the same direction, into the same direction. And then when you're following that and you discover the limiting beliefs, of course, you do meditations and stuff like that as well. It's just something where you can help yourself out a little bit as well on a daily basis. So when people ask me what kind of spiritual practices I can do on a daily basis, this would be an amazing spiritual practice you can do, or in general, an amazing practice to have a better life experience. Because from my point of view, I always wanted to have both. I wanted to awaken and also have a good life experience. This was just very important to me because, yeah, I don't know, it just felt so natural. And that's why I've also felt so drawn to Mother Mira, because that's just what she's teaching, or she's not really teaching, she's more silence, but that's what she writes in her books, in the Q&A books, that we can ask God for everything. And we can have basically a good life experience. So that's basically what she shares, and that's what she wants. She wants us humans to have a good life experience and also awaken. So this always really resonated with me, and this is definitely something when I'm doing my work with people, this is definitely the aim, to have a good life experience, an enjoyable life experience. Because if you don't have it, it's just limitations. It's just limitations that are still there. It's just energies that are still influencing you, Otherwise, so I never really resonated with the saying it's our birthright to have a life in abundance and success and love and all of that, because I didn't understand that saying, so it didn't really resonate. What our birthright, but I'm not experiencing it, how can it be my birthright? But it's basically, that's just how a lot of people frame it. But also how it could be framed is, everything is there already, which is also another difficult one I didn't understand, but I'm just gonna share it. Everything is there already, but you're not seeing it because of your limitations and of your stuck energies and all of that. And that's the reason why it's not seen, why it can't be experienced. And that's really it. So between you and you having like this amazing life experience that's perfect for you, and that's for every individual, it's totally different. We're all totally different. We all have a very different highest truth, and we all have a very different life experience unfolding. So that the purpose of life, so the whole unfolding, the whole life experience, which is so beautiful. It's incredibly beautiful, and it's so cool when you discovering that and when you actually understand that. Well, it was for me at least. So basically, what's in the way of the most perfect life unfolding, which is always a path anyways, so it never ends. It's always happening until we leave this body. But basically, what's in the way, and this is just the biggest chunk, is all the limitations, stuck energies, traumas, and all of that on one level. And then also, yes, of course, raising the level of consciousness just helps. Because then it's so much easier so it goes hand in hand, to discover, to see these limitations. Because, for example, if you are, let's say, not in self-realization yet, or you're just crossed self-realization, there are still so many limitations going on in your system on the human level, that a lot of your limitations are not seen yet. So you kind of need to climb up a few stories of a high rise to have a better view. And before that, you kind of in a, like a middle story, you kind of have a good view already. But if you go up and then eventually reach the penthouse, you just have a totally different view of the area. And this is exactly the same way in the system. So limitations and certain things are just not seen at certain levels. So when you go to a higher level, you just see them because also the identification falls away with them. So yeah, honestly, it's the most exciting thing, in my opinions, we humans can experience is actually have this be in the path of spiritual awakening, raising our level of consciousness, and then healing the system, and then having such a natural, having life unfolding in such a natural way. This is just the most beautiful thing. Yeah, and just going back to follow your highest excitement, this just helps to bring you more in tune with your highest truth, to discovering what it is actually, because people don't know. Like we are moved away from our highest truths from childhood on, especially in school, right? So we all have to fit in this one model, but everybody's so different. So and following the joy, I guess it's better described. Highest excitement sounds so big. It just brings you there. It just brings you there slowly, and then life gets more effortless. It gets more joyful. You discovering limiting beliefs, just limitations. You can remove them. There is more space, more opportunities, more clarity, more access to more access to intuition. Yeah, just very beautiful. Okay, so I think that's it. I didn't think I would talk so long. I actually very enjoyed it. I hope you did too. I hope it wasn't like a too much of a, yeah, it was a monologue, but anyways, first time. So thank you so much for everybody who stayed. No, I think there were good things in it, so I think it should be fine. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions to what I shared or certain things were not clear, please leave me a comment. I'm going to answer them. I'm always happy to answer. And if you feel certain things are resonating, please let me know. If you feel like certain things are not resonating, please also let me know, because it's also interesting. We can talk about everything. Maybe there is, just some additional information needed. Yeah. Okay. So that was amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening and watching. Yeah, very grateful to be able to have done that today, and have a lovely rest of your day. Okay, bye-bye.